Hi everybody, it's Annie from Polar Explorers and I'm on night 2 of reviewing my top 5 Arctic exploration books. Last night I talked about The Arctic Grail, which is a phenomenal book, and if you didn't purchase it last night, you should stop this video right now and order it online, and then you can come back and listen to what I'm reviewing tonight, which is a great book called Two Against the Ice. And this is about a Danish expedition that took place in 1909. I'm not going to tell you when it ended because that's part of the story. It's by Einar Mikkelsen, who's an amazing explorer. And it's not very well known in English-speaking countries because it was written in 1955, but it wasn't translated into English until the early 2000s. This story is about two guys who go on an expedition in Northeast Greenland to try to recover the diaries of an earlier ill-fated expedition. And like so many other Arctic expeditions, they run into a lot of problems. These guys run into so many problems, so many bad things happen to them. But whereas other Arctic and sometimes Antarctic expeditions are a little depressing because everybody dies, they die of starvation or of exposure, these two guys have a knack for being able to get themselves out of the trouble that they're in. It's amazing. You wouldn't believe what kind of bad things happen to these guys, and somehow they are able to rise above it, and they do it with humor and with dignity and courage and love for one another. And so it really ends up being a completely inspiring story. And this guy is super, super cool. I just have to tell you a little bit about him. He was an explorer at heart from a very young age. When he was young, only 15, he discovered that Andri, Swedish explorer Andri, was gonna fly a balloon to the North Pole, and he went to go meet with him. And Andri said, "I'm sorry, you're too young," and actually paid for his trip home. And then he tried to get on a Norwegian expedition, and Otto Sverdrup told him, "We're looking for men, not boys." And if that just kind of paints a picture of who this guy is and what he would do to try to have an adventure, and he went on to do some amazing things. But this story, you really need to know about this guy. So you should read this book because it's not only inspiring, but you really need to know more about this guy. So, but tonight's a super cool night because it's a two-for night. There just so happens to be two great books about Arctic exploration with the same name, Two Against the Ice. What are the chances? So this one here is a book about Amundsen and Ellsworth, Roald Amundsen and Lincoln Ellsworth. You guys know Roald Amundsen because he was the first person to reach the South Pole. What you might not know is that he went on, after he reached the South Pole, to have a pretty incredible career in polar aviation. And his partner for a lot of it was Lincoln Ellsworth, who was a pretty good explorer in his own right, but also managed to provide the funding for Amundsen's explorations. And they were a really good pair together. They got themselves into some pretty unique messes in terms of aviation. And what's cool about the story, sort of like the other book, is how they got themselves out of those predicaments. And so if you like aviation at all, if you like early aviation, you're gonna love this book. It's pretty incredible reading about their flights all over the polar regions, but a really great story and a great way to learn more about Amundsen and also Lincoln Ellsworth. If you guys have been to Mount Vinson in Antarctica, you've been in the Ellsworth Mountains, which were discovered by Lincoln Ellsworth. So a whole ton of really cool information and excellent, excellent aviation stories in this book. But if you're online tonight ordering Two Against the Ice, which of course you should be, make sure that if you want this one, you're getting this one. And if you want this one, you're getting this one, because they're both called Two Against the Ice. So what are we going to be talking about tomorrow night? I'm not sure yet, but it's going to be good. Check back again tomorrow night for our next book, and hope everybody's doing well and surviving okay, and we'll see you tomorrow night.